Hello, my fellow readers, and today we're going to be reading Tales of Four Great Nothing, the rest of Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. So we have two changes. One, the camera isn't working again, so we're sorry for that. And two, that's just background music. So enjoy listening to some Mozart while I read the book. Um, Enjoy. Peter, my father called. Come and finish your dinner. When I got back to the table, I heard Mrs. Yarby say, "It must be very interesting to have children. We never had any ourselves. But if we did," Mr. Yarby told my father, "we teach them some manners. I'm a firm believer in good old-fashioned manners." "So are we, Howard," my father said in a weak voice. I thought Mr. Yarby had a lot of nerve to hint that we had no manners. Didn't I pretend to like their dumb old picture dictionary? If that isn't good manners, then I don't know what is. My mother excused herself and carried Fudge to my room. I did she put in his crib again. I hope she told him to keep his hands off my things. We didn't hear from him again until dessert. Just as my mother was pouring the coffee, he ran in wearing my rubber gorilla mask from last Halloween. It's a very real looking mask. I guess that's why Mrs. Yarby screamed so loud. If she hadn't made so much noise, my mother probably wouldn't have spilled the coffee all over the floor. But my father grabbed Fudge and pulled the gorilla mask off him. "That's not funny, Fudge," he said. "Funny," Fudge laughed. "Funny, funny, funny, Fudgy." "Yes, sir, Hector," Mr. Yarby said. "Good old-fashioned manners." By that time, I'm sure my father was sorry that the Yarbys weren't staying in the hotel. I finally got to bed at 10. Fudge was in his crib slurping away. I thought I'd never fall asleep, but I guess I did. I woke up once when Fudge started babbling. He said, "Baba, Mama, Hapashi," whatever that means. I didn't even get scared. I was scared. "Shut up." And he did. Early the next morning, I felt something funny. First, I didn't wake up. I just felt this. Yeah, I thought it was part of my dream, but but then I had the feeling. Um, Wait, what? Oh, sorry. Early the next morning, I felt something funny on my arm. At first, I didn't wake up. I, I just felt this little tickle. I thought it was part of my dream, but then I had the feeling that somebody was staring at me, so I opened my eyes. Fudge was standing over me, and Dribble was crawling on my arm. I just fudged until I was about to kill him, because he bent down and kissed me. That's what he thinks nobody can resist him when he makes himself so lovable. Um, and a lot of times it works with my mother, but not with me. I I jumped up and dribbled back into his bowl and smacked Fudge on the backside. Hard, he hollered. My father came running into my room. He was still in his pajamas. He whispered, "What's going on in here?" He whispered. I pointed at Fudge, and he pointed at me. Go back to. My father picked up my brother and carried him off. "Go back to sleep, Peter. It's only 6 o'clock in the morning." I fell asleep for another hour. Then I was woke up by an awful noise. It was Fudge playing with his new train. It woke up everyone, including the Arbys. But this time there was nobody they can blame. They were the ones that gave uh gave Fudge the train in the first place. Breakfast was a very quiet affair. Nobody had much to say. Mr. Yarby drank 2 glasses of Juicio. Then he told my father that he and Mrs. Yarby had their suitcases packed and and they were leaving for a hotel as soon as breakfast was over. My father said he understood, and my apartment that the apartment was too small for so many people. My mother didn't say anything. When Mr. Yarby went into Fudge's room to pick up his suitcases, his voice boomed, "Hatcher!" My father ran toward the bedroom. My mo- my mother and Mrs. Yarby followed him. I followed them. When we got there, we saw Fudge sitting on the Yarby suitcase. He had decorated it with about 100 green stamps. The kind my mother did to the supermarket. See? Fudge said. See? Pretty. He laughed. Nobody else did. Then he took the last green stamp and stuck it right in the middle of his suitcase. All done, Fudge said, holding up his hands. It took my mother half an hour to peel off her trading stamps and clean up the Arby's suitcase. The next week, my father came home from the office and collected all the cans of juice seal in our house. He dumped them all into the garbage. My mother felt bad that my father had lost such an important account, but my father told her not to worry. Juice seal wasn't selling very well at the stores. Nobody seemed to like the combination of oranges, grapefruits, pineapples, pears, and bananas. You know, Dad, I said, I only drink juicy to be polite. I really hated it. You know something funny, Peter? My father said. I thought it was pretty bad myself. People are going to move on to chapter 3, the family dog. Nobody ever came right out and said what was the reason that my father lost the juicy account. But I thought about it. My father said he was glad to be rid of Mr. Yarby. Now he can spend more time on his other clients, like the Toddlebite Company. My father's in charge of their new TV commercial. I thought maybe he can use me in it since I know how to stand on my head. But my father said he wasn't planning on using any headstanders in his in his commercial. My grandmother told me my grandma told me I had to stay up on my head when I spent the night at her house. I didn't stay up for as long as 3 minutes. I showed my mother, my father, and Fudge how to do it right in the living room. They were all impressed, especially Fudge. So I tried to teach him, but he always tumbled backwards. Right after I learned to stand on my head, Fudge stopped eating. Fudge stopped. He did suddenly. One day he ate fine. The next day, no, eat. He told my mother. She didn't pay too much attention to him until the third day. When he still refused to eat, she got upset. You've got to eat, Fudgy, she said. You want to grow up to be big and strong, don't you? No, grow, Fudge said. That night, my mother told my father how worried she was about Fudge. So did my mother. So my father did tricks for him while my mother stood over his chair trying to get some food in his mouth. It worked. Not even juggling oranges. Finally, my mother got the brilliant idea of me standing on my head while she fed Fudge. I wasn't very excited about standing on my head in the kitchen. The floor is awfully hard in there, but my mother begged me. She said, It's very important for Fudge to eat. Please help us, Peter. So I stood on my head. When Fudge saw me upside down, he clapped his hands and laughed. When he laughs, he opens his mouth. That's when my mother stuffed some baked potato into it. The next morning, I put my foot down. No, I don't want to stand on my head in the kitchen or anywhere else, I added. And if I don't hurry, I'll be late for school. Don't you care if your brother starves? No, I told her. Peter, what an awful thing to say. Oh, he'll eat when he gets hungry. Why don't you just leave him alone? That afternoon, when I came home from school, I found my brother on the kitchen floor playing with boxes of cereal and raisins and dried apricots. My mother was begging him to eat. No, 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 Bud shouted. He made a terrible mess, dumping everything on the floor. Please stand on your head, Peter, my mother said. It's the only way he'll eat. No, I told her. I'm not going to stand on my head any more. I went into my room and slammed the door. It would dribble until supper time. Nobody ever worries about me the way they worry about Fudge. If I decided not to eat, they'd probably never even notice. That night during dinner, Fudge hid under the kitchen table. He said, I'm a doggy. Woof, 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 woof. It was hard to eat with him under the table, pulling on my legs. I waited for my father to say something, but he didn't. Finally, my mother, finally, my mother, finally, my mother jumped in. I know, she said. If Fudge is a doggy, he wants to eat on the floor, right? If you ask me, Fudge never even thought about that. but he liked the idea a lot. He barked and nodded his head. So my mother fixed a plate and put it under the table. Then she reached down and petted him like he was a real dog. If you ask me, Fudge never even thought about that, but he liked the idea a lot. He barked and nodded his head. So my mother fixed his plate and put it under the table. Then she reached down and petted him like he was a real dog. Wait, I just read that. My father said, "Aren't we carrying this a little too far?" My mother didn't answer. Fudge ate 2 bites of his dinner. My mother was satisfied. After a week of having him eat under the table, I felt like we really did have a family dog. I thought how great it would be if we could trade in Fudge for a nice Cocker Spaniel. That would solve all my problems. I watch him and feed him and play with him. And get to my bed at night. But of course, that was wishful thinking. My brother is here as well. Nothing much I can do about it. Grandma came up with a million ideas about getting Fudge to eat. Tricked him by making milkshakes with Blunder. When Fudge wasn't looking, she threw in an egg. Then she told him if he drank it all the way up, that there would be a surprise at the bottom of his glass. The first time he believed her, but all he saw was an empty glass. There wasn't any surprise. Fudge got so mad he threw the glass down and smashed it into little pieces. After that, Grandma left. The next day, my mother dragged Fudge to Dr. Cohn's office. He told her to leave him alone, that Fudge would eat when he got hungry. I reminded my mother that I had told her the same thing, and for free. But I guess my mother didn't believe either one of us because she took Fudge to 3 more doctors. None of them could find a thing wrong with my brother. One even suggested that my mother took his favorite foods. That night, my mother broiled lamb chops just for Fudge. The rest of us ate stew. She served him the little lamb chops on his plate under the table. Just the smell of him was enough to make my stomach growl. I thought it was mean that my mother made them for Fudge and not for me. Fudge looked at his lamb chops for a few minutes. Then he pushed his plate away. "No," he said. "No chops." "Fudgy, you'll starve," my mother cried. "You must eat." "No chops. Cornflakes," Fudge said. "Want cornflakes." My mother ran to get the cereal for Fudge. "You can eat the chops if you want them, Peter," she told me. I reached down and helped myself to the lamb chops. My mother handed Fudge his bowl of cereal, but he didn't eat it. He sat at my feet and looked up at me. He watched me eat his chops. "Eat your cereal," my father said. "No, no, eat cereal," Fudge yelled. My father was really mad. His face turned bright red. He said, "Fudge, you will eat that cereal or you will wear it." This was turning out to be fun after all, I thought. And the lamb chops were really tasty. I dipped the bone in some ketchup and chewed away. Fudge messed around with the cereal for a minute. Then he looked at my father and said, "No, eat! No, eat! No, eat!" My father wiped his mouth with his napkin, pushed back his chair, and got up from the table. He picked up the bowl of cereal in one hand and Fudge in the other. He carried both of them into the bathroom. I went along, opening on the bone, to see what was going to happen. My father stood Fudge in the tub and dumped the whole bowl of cereal right over his head. Fudge screamed. He sure can scream loud. My father motioned me to go back to the kitchen. He joined us in a minute. We sat down and finished our dinner. Fudge kept on screaming. My mother wanted to go to him, but my father told her to stay where she was. He had enough of Fudge's monkey business at meal times. I think my father was really relieved that my father had taken over. For once, my brother got what he deserved, and I was glad. The next day, Fudge sat at the table again, in his little red bush chair. He ate everything that my mother put in front of him. "No more doggy," he told us. And for a long time after that, his favorite expression was, "Eat it or wear it." That concludes my reading of the rest of Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 of Tales of Wondering Nothing by Judy Blume. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the other one. Bye, and have a good day.